The others. Good evening, I'm Steve Highsmith. From the season's wettest storm, El Nino-driven death comes without warning on a central California highway. The Cuyama River overflows, quickly collapsing a highway and sweeping away a tractor trailer and half a dozen cars, including a highway patrol cruiser. The two officers seen here in a second have been found dead. Other unsuspecting motorists are feared to have lost their lives. The driver of the tractor trailer is rescued, but other motorists are missing. These Pacific Coast storms have taken more than half a dozen lives, and in the last month, storms have caused $500 million in damage. In Malibu, the Pacific Coast Highway hit again, and a body covered with mud found in Orange County as new rock and mudslides destroy or threaten hundreds of homes. A tree fell on a car, killing 2 people in Claremont, and tornadoes ripped sheds and carports in Huntington Beach, perching that one there atop a tree. In San Diego, a giant sinkhole swallows up highway. Throughout California, century-old records are being washed away, along with the possessions and lives of some of its residents. President Clinton tomorrow will see firsthand the destruction levied by tornadoes in central Florida.
The house blew over and landed right there.
Survivors came back today to what's left of their neighborhoods. Curfews in effect tonight. New word is that winds in the 10 twisters hit 260 miles an hour. The survivors will look tomorrow to the president for help, but tonight to their beliefs.
When God says he's going to do something, you can't stop it. And you just have to realize this is one of those acts of nature, and we'll just deal with it.
As many as 12 people are missing. 38 are known dead, among them a 41-year-old long-haul trucker who ran to a closet with his fiancée. She entered first and lived, but as she grabbed his hand, the tornado ripped him away. The storm that ravaged Florida turned into a milder nor'easter here, but still did enough to sink Miss Ocean City there and cause minor damage to docks and flood some streets, mainly on the back bays, most with just a few inches of water. And in Atlantic City today, cautious officials let school out early. Fire tonight in Camden, quickly spreading to 3 alarms at the old Pistachio Chevrolet dealership at 1700 Haddon Avenue, and firefighters are calling it suspicious. The building has been vacant for many years. The blaze was brought under control in 22 minutes. No one was injured. A former teacher's assistant in Delaware County faces more sex assault charges involving young boys. 29-year-old Gary Olson charged today with nearly 70 new counts of sexual and indecent assault and furnishing liquor to minors. Olson now faces over 140 charges in all, involving 14 boys ages 4 to 14. Authorities allege assaults took place over the last 15 years, many at Olson's mobile home in Trainer.
The person who uses a position of influence as a teacher's aide, as a coach, as a camp counselor, to come in contact with boys, young boys, but in virtually all these circumstances, particularly vulnerable young boys.
Olson is held tonight on $500,000 bail. 3 men are under arrest in Camden County tonight for what police say is a racial attack at a playground. Byron Scott is standing by live in Brooklawn, Camden County with the latest. Byron?
Steve, the alleged racial incident occurred at this playground. It started out on Sunday as a kid fight. Let me just show you this, though. That playground is just literally just a few feet from the Brooklawn police station. Now, by the time all this was said and done, police say racial epithets were hurled. 4 people actually have been charged, and one of those guys is still being sought by police.
Where did they hit you?
Right here, right here, and right here.
11-year-old Aprisa Bradley still bears the scars of that beating on Sunday, in which 3, possibly 4 white men allegedly hurled racial epithets at Bradley and assaulted her in a public playground. She was there with 4 younger relatives.
When he touched my face, my face was bloody and everything. So then I went home.
And that's when she got her mother, father, and aunt, and they then began fighting with the white men.
At the same time, I was saying, stop hitting my brother. Don't hit me, I'm pregnant. But I was going and I was pushing them away with my hands, and I was like, don't hit me, I'm pregnant. Next thing I know, I get kicked in my stomach, and I hear them say, we fight too.
We have charged 3 defendants in connection with that matter.
Arrested with 22-year-old Daniel D'Agostino, his brother 26-year-old Brian D'Agostino. A third suspect, 30-year-old Bruce Campisi, is a fugitive. All 3 have been charged with assault and bias crimes.
Has a racial motivation to it, not simply something where bias occurs during the course of the incident, but is a motivating factor in the incident.
Again, police are looking for a third suspect in this case. Ironically, one of the men charged in this case is the father of the 11-year-old involved in the incident. Police have charged him with assaulting one of the alleged attackers that called his daughter a nigger and attacked her. Live in Woodlawn, I'm Byron Scott. Steve.
Thank you, Byron. Elsewhere, Bucks County authorities say they have cracked a major stolen car ring. 24-year-old Toffee Favors of Chalfont, his 20-year-old girlfriend Stephanie Potter, and 5 juveniles are charged with stealing 23 cars from affluent suburbs last summer. DA Alan Rubenstein says the gang stole cars to go joyriding in North Philadelphia.
They were more interested in driving the cars around and profiling to impress the ladies and all the girls down there. But eventually, when they got tired of the car, they would just turn it over to somebody for $200-300, come back to Bucks County and steal another one.
All of the stolen cars had been left unlocked with the keys inside. The frantic search for nearly a ton of explosives stolen from a western Pennsylvania coal mining company is over. Federal agents investigating the theft of the ammonium nitrate and fuel oil mix last week took 3 suspects into custody overnight. Reportedly, one of the suspects broke and implicated the other 2. And tonight, agents say they have recovered the explosives. A man claiming to have a bomb robbed the PNC Bank on West Lancaster Avenue in Devon this afternoon. He escaped with an undetermined amount of cash. The Philadelphia bomb squad responded and found that the bag the man left behind did not contain explosives. The decision not to bomb Iraq, at least for now, means the wait is on still for families with loved ones deployed to the Persian Gulf. Robin Scowarn has 3 young children. With the threat of war, her husband was shipped out on Valentine's Day. Now she says his stay overseas will be prolonged as diplomats see if the new agreement is honored by Saddam.
How do you explain it to your kids? You don't, because they don't understand. You can't explain it to a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old.
I love Mommy and I miss them and I want to come back.
I have 3. Oh, I missed one. Ashley. They don't understand why.
The families at McGuire have been given no indication as to when their loved ones will be coming home. Big cheer there. Our heroes welcome today in New York for UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. He returned with the accord he says will meet the demands of Security Council resolutions. UN access to all sites suspected of harboring weapons of mass destruction. Last night, Annan was greeted by a crowd of screaming fans in Paris as his limo arrived at a hotel. The fans thought it was Madonna's limo, and that's why they cheered. She showed up a few minutes later. Annan was amused. A surprising turn in the Clinton crisis on this day 35. Special Prosecutor Ken Starr shines his probe of news leaks not on his own office but on the White House, and Monica Lewinsky's former boss testifies before the grand jury. Prosecutor Starr, stung by attacks that his office is leaking stories damaging to the president, has subpoenaed this White House aide and a private investigator to ask them about how the White House may have given reporters derogatory information about Starr's office. Also today, testifying before Starr's grand jury, Jocelyn Jolly, Monica Lewinsky's former White House boss. Both were abruptly transferred at the same time in 1996. The man who made a career out of Take My Wife Please is gone. Henny Youngman has died of complications from the flu. He was a Borscht Belt comedian, the king of one-liners, who started as a band leader. When New York Bell used Youngman's one-liners on Dial-A-Joke in 1974, the phone company logged 3 million calls in a month. Well, tonight, Henny Youngman, dead at the age of 91. Here at home, more jobs than expected will be lost in First Union Bank's $16 billion takeover of core states, but the bank promises to be a good neighbor.
We have a very great appreciation for the stewardship that's going to be required on the part of First Union to help meet the community needs in Philadelphia.
The merger means the Delaware Valley will lose 4,500 jobs. 172 bank branches will close in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, 10 of them in Philadelphia. On the bright side, First Union pledges $13 billion for low-income housing loans and other community programs in the Delaware Valley. But that brings little comfort to Core States workers and some of its customers. Jennifer Lewis Hall has more.
Many Core States employees were upset today, many of them not willing to talk about leaving the bank that has maintained a good reputation in the city.
No comment.
But those who did give their opinions called it a sad day for thousands of workers who will soon find themselves out of work.
Guess I'll just take my severance pay.
Nashika Mitchell is a data processor who has a baby on the way.
It's horrible. It's horrible. Especially for single parents and stuff. It's horrible.
And some Core States customers are worried too.
We oppose the merger.
First Union has been the target of protests by critics who say the bank has a history of cutting services in low-income neighborhoods.
The activist groups in the community need to look at the merger and participate as much as possible to see that, the communities are insured services.
But despite the criticism, Mayor Rendell is standing by the deal, a merger that could soon be the biggest in banking history.
I think what First Union has done today, on balance, is produce a very good plan for the interest of Philadelphia and the Philadelphia region.
First Union officials say they believe the merger can be completed by...
WeatherScope.
What an intensely stormy winter it's been in California, and the damage estimates continue to mount in parts of the Golden State. Good evening, I'm Dave Schwartz. Welcome to WeatherScope. Those of you in the Northeast have heavy rain, high winds, and mountain snows tonight too. All thanks to another nor'easter that just won't go away. For the very latest on that, we go to Warren Madden in the Forecast Center.
Thanks, Dave. We're looking at a nor'easter that is basically acting like a house guest that just won't take a hint. It is moving very slowly out of the picture and will be hanging around through at least the first part of the day on Wednesday. It has already caused numerous problems: rain, wind, snow, and in some places some flooding. One such place, Ocean City, New Jersey, which started off the day with not a great commute. The high tide and wind this morning conspired to cause some major road flooding. This commuter doing a wise thing, making a U-turn, not traveling through flooded areas, avoiding the swamped roads. Emergency management officials along the Jersey coast didn't really expect this much flooding, but the fact that the storm slowed down and kept the winds pushing the water onshore and the heavier rain a little while longer did cause some problems. Here's the situation right now. The low is not too far from Cape Cod right now, pretty much sitting right over it. Winds on the backside now coming out of the west-northwest, and so the wind's now pushing offshore along the Jersey coastline. However, here in Maine and heading into the coastlines of New Hampshire and Massachusetts, watch out. The wind's still onshore and gusty. We've seen gusts close to 40 miles an hour during the past few hours. Boston making it up to a gust of 39 over the last hour or two. Joining me here in the Forecast Center, meteorologist Dan Graff. Dan, we've been watching this storm throughout the evening, and of course people getting ready for bed now, wondering what are they going to wake up to as we go into the morning hours.
Well, it looks like for the northeastern seaboard, we're going to stay as rain. A lot of Atlantic air has moved westward toward the coastline and even into parts of the interior, and so no problems there. But over the interior northeast, well inland, like in northern Maine, northern New Hampshire, certainly the Green Mountains, there we're going to see some snow. It's going to increase, and we might see some plowable amounts, so it may not be a pretty rush hour tomorrow morning.
We can take a look now and show you what we are expecting as we go into the morning hours. As Dan mentioned, we do expect rain along the coastal regions. Watch out, though. Some of that rain could cause flooding. Middlesex, Norfolk, Plymouth, Bristol counties here in eastern Massachusetts, you're all under flood warnings right now. But as we head further up into the Adirondacks, watch out. Winter storm warnings could see an additional amount of snow for you overnight that could make travel hazardous heading into Glens Falls, up in towards, say, Plattsburgh and the Lake Placid area.
Yes, and we do have snow moving into all of these places right now. We've seen the precipitation very stationary over Pennsylvania, New York for about the last 24 or even 30 hours. But finally, as this upper level system and surface low pressure area gradually pull off to the northeast, with that we see the precipitation in the form of snow heading toward northern New England. Now, the good news for them is that we don't expect the precipitation to be as focused as it was farther to the south. But nonetheless, we might be looking at snow showers up in here for the next couple of days. So we're not looking for any rapid improvement for the interior northeast. So that's not good news.
Checking out the radar right now to see what's falling as we speak. You can see some heavier rain moving on in to the southern Maine area around Portland, also across the Cape. Looks like some heavier rain around Chatham, heading out toward Provincetown. And then as we look farther back into the Adirondacks, that's where the snow is falling right now.
Right, and we're waiting for the cold air from Ontario to arrive on the northwesterly winds. And right now the winds are still coming out of the east in New England. Until the winds switch, we might just see some more rain during the overnight hours.
All right, well, thanks very much for joining us, Dan. And we'll be checking back with Dan in just a little while. If you'd like to check out some more information on the storm, and say you're at work tomorrow, don't have access to a TV, you do have another option. Fire up your web browser, point it to the Weather Channel's website. That address is weather.com. Let's head back now into the studio and find out what's going to be happening as we go through the day on Wednesday across the rest of the country.
Well, Warren, it's another storm from California that's going to be moving east. Now, it has dumped some snow in the Intermountain West, but tonight in Phoenix, frozen precipitation is falling, but it's not snow. It's hail. We had heavy rain earlier in the day, and then this hail by late afternoon. You can hear it. Passing through the Valley of the Sun. We had strong winds, sightings of funnel clouds. The heavy rain has caused some street flooding here, too, and very poor visibility. So, wow, look at that. And we've got some more big storms moving across the North Valley right now. Looks like around Scottsdale out toward Fountain Hills. And then some more action down the interstate near Casa Grande. Out here into the mountains, it's all falling in the form of snow. But these are some strong thunderstorms, and these have produced funnel clouds. Thus far, we haven't had any reports of any touchdowns, any tornadoes. But there still could be some gusty winds, hail, and brief heavy rains from these as they move across the North Valley. More jet stream energy diving in through Southern California, and that is going to be the storm to watch. Yes, it's windy here in the Northeast, but look at El Paso gusting to 59 miles per hour with the passage of that front. And this storm is really going to be a weather maker, not for just part of the country, but for most of the country for the second half of the week. And as that area of low